And you're on.
All right, late night from Willowdale. We're here at the Winston Churchill Park at St. Clair and Spadina on the tail end of a beautiful spring day. The park was full of people, social distancing. As you can see now, it's pretty much empty because the sun is sort of going a bit behind the clouds, but it was full of people earlier. Yeah, a lot of people just enjoying a nice spring day during these crazy times. So we just thought we'd do a little late night from Willowdale video on this nice spring day. And we are social distancing, so no one can yell at us. So we're beginning to see the wind die down here a bit. So we are beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It looks like the numbers are stabilizing, and you know, hopefully some of these restrictions over the next month or so will be eased, and hopefully this virus will pass into history. Clearly other viruses are on the way, and we'll have to be prepared for them, but hopefully this virus over the next couple of months will pass into history. I just want to say I don't think the virus has made people nicer. A lot of people have said, oh, the coronavirus, COVID-19 has brought people together and all of this. I don't see that. I don't think the virus has made people nicer. I think the virus has made people meaner and nastier. And I think I don't know what that's all about, but
Some guy in a Miata, I don't know.
But I think that the virus has made people meaner and nastier, and you know, I get tired every time I'm in a lineup at the grocery store or at the liquor store or whatever, and people yell at me because somehow I violated social distancing. I've gotten too close. You know, people do this inadvertently. They're not doing this purposely. And people yell at you and they say, stay back, you get too close. And they just go a bit nutty and hysteric. I've had people in my apartment building tell me to get back into my apartment unit so they can pass. So, yeah, I just think that the virus has made people meaner, and I'll be happy when this is all over. I've seen people mean to liquor clerks in the liquor stores, in the grocery stores. These are frontline workers. You should compliment them and thank them for being there. But I've seen people be mean to them, you know, and yeah, and I think, you know, what you see in a situation like this, society, they get into a lot of groupthink and they take it too seriously, and it becomes fascistic. You can see how society descends into fascism in a crisis like we're experiencing. None of us have really gone through anything like this before. You know, my parents went through the war years in Europe, but none of us have really, you know, unless you've been through a war, you've never been through a crisis like this. And I think a lot of people are becoming unglued. They're becoming nuts. And I think a lot of this, you know, clanging the pots and pans and singing "Oh Canada" and all that stuff, I just think it's cheap theatrics. And you know, I think it's a lot of hypocrisy there. You know, I just wish, you know, a lot of these people are clanging the pots and pans, and they're doing it from these buildings here you see.
Yeah, those ones?
7:30, they, you know, at 7:30 they clanged the pots and pans, and a lot of these people voted for Doug Ford, the Ontario Premier, who campaigned on healthcare cuts and cuts to education and tax cuts and cuts to social programs, cuts to the minimum wage, you know. And we've seen through this crisis that social programs are the reason society is still standing, you know. And so there's a lot of hypocrisy there, you know. I wish, you know, I just wish people wouldn't vote for governments that make these cuts to, you know, tax cuts to social programs, cuts to healthcare. Just, you know, don't vote for them. And then, you know, like I said, I think this clanging of the pots and all that stuff is just cheap theatrics, and I just think there's a lot of hypocrisy there. And they do it from all these buildings around here. So, yeah, and then when we're talking about cuts and, you know, deregulation, look at the long-term care facilities, our seniors homes. A lot of the deaths that have happened because of COVID-19 have happened in long-term care facilities and seniors homes. And that's just not in Canada, that's in the United States, that's in Europe. These seniors homes become death traps. We need to know why. We need to have, in Canada at least, we should have a public inquiry as to why. These seniors homes, a lot of them are owned privately, they're owned by private business. They are totally not regulated. A lot of them aren't regulated properly. They're not inspected properly. And there needs to be, this needs to be looked into it. If criminal charges need to be laid against the owners of some of these homes, that should be done. A lot of these homes are filthy, they're not hygienic, and we need to look into the seniors' homes. We have to find out what's going on there. This has been going on way too long, and this COVID crisis has brought it out. Okay, so let's look at a couple of countries that have been diminished by the COVID crisis. The United States has definitely been diminished. Everyone knows Trump has totally mismanaged it and botched it, the Trump administration. And the U.S. was already a diminished country before this. But as I said in the previous video, this is American exceptionalism at its worst. The U.S. is a laughingstock around the world on how they've handled this crisis. And they're a diminished place. And like I've often said, I think in many ways this just showed how the United States is a failed state. On the other hand, state governments have done well. Andrew Cuomo in New York State has done very well, and other state governors have done good jobs in managing the crisis. The other country that's been diminished out of this is China. China covered it up in the beginning, and they arrested people who wanted to expose what was happening and let the world know about this health crisis and this pandemic, and all these critics of the government were arrested. So yeah, China covered it up in the beginning. It's an authoritarian place. They covered it up. They've become a very diminished society. A lot of people are looking at China a different way now. I've always said that China was sort of a house of cards, and I think I think China's being exposed for what it is. It's a country that has lots of weaknesses, and an authoritarian society. They covered it up in the beginning, and they definitely need blame for that. Now, saying that, I want to, before I forget, because I want to make the point. Even though Trump has mismanaged this crisis, he could be reelected. Okay, don't doubt that Trump could be reelected. He was elected in 2016 despite all his faults. He was a grifter. He was a crook. He was a womanizer. He treated women shabbily. This is a guy who, all sorts of contractors were suing the Trump organization because he never paid his bills. I mean, Trump was a crook, a grifter, a womanizer, and he got elected president of the United States. Albeit narrowly, but he got elected. So Trump could get elected again. Don't you doubt it. He's got a 30 to 40% base, and the coronavirus might be a thing of the past come this November. You could see Trump getting reelected. His opposition is weak. Biden is a joke. I call him the walking mummy. Biden is the walking mummy. He's a joke. He's Sleepy Joe. He can barely put one word in front of another. He rarely utters a coherent sentence or thought. What is the Democratic Party thinking? Joe Biden is a joke. They should draft Andrew Cuomo. I don't see Biden winning against Trump. I just don't. I've never seen the allure of Joe Biden. I don't understand why Obama picked him as his vice president. Sleepy Joe, he's not going to do the job, and he's not up for the job. Mike Harris used to say that about Dalton McGuinty. He's just not up for the job. So yeah, I can see Trump being reelected. Anyways, moving on. I think the European Union will survive. I was worried about the European Union. Just get the nice shot of that streetcar coming in to show people where we are.
Oh, okay. So Winston Churchill Park, and we're right on St. Clair.
Yeah, at Spadina and St. Clair.
Spadina and St. Clair.
And there you have a nice shot of a beautiful TTC street.
Those problematic streetcars, right?
Anyways,
Okay.
Back to the video. I think the European Union will survive. It's damaged. Obviously, with Northern Europe not wanting to help Southern Europe, Italy and Spain, they didn't want to help, particularly the Dutch and the Germans didn't want to help Italy and Spain. I think that crisis has somewhat been averted now. I think the European will survive. The European project, the most successful political project in modern history. Hold on, we got some action going on here. So yeah, I think the European project will survive. The European Union, that is. It will be damaged though, and and yeah, what were the Dutch and the Germans thinking? But I think the European project will survive. Obviously, the Italians and the Spanish are really angry because Northern Europe didn't really help them. But I think the European Union, although damaged, will survive. I think India will survive. I was worried about India. Modi is doing his best to destroy India. But, and I thought with the lockdowns and clampdowns with COVID, India might not survive. Another successful post-war project, India. You know, in many ways, it's amazing it stays together. But I think India will survive, which is a good thing, despite what Modi's doing. Okay, so let's just wind up here. Let's talk about, one positive of the virus has been violence is down worldwide. A lot of these civil wars are on hold. You know, violence is, down in Syria. Violence is down in Central Africa. A lot of these civil wars are on hold. The nasty war in Yemen. The Saudis have pulled back in Yemen. That's still going on, but it's not as nasty as it was. The Saudis have pulled back somewhat, so that's a good thing. So some of these civil wars are on hold. Hopefully, some good things will come out of this virus. Obviously, domestic violence is up in many countries. That's very sad. That's horrible. Obviously, crime is down in a lot of places. That's a good thing. Some good things have come out of COVID. The environment. The New York Times reported the other greenhouse emissions are down 8%. 8%, record-setting. They've never seen it before. And that'll change once the economy ramps up again. But it goes to show you, once you slow down economic activity, the planet cleans itself up. So yeah, greenhouse gas emissions down 8%, record-setting. They've never seen that before. So that's a good thing. Yeah, greenhouse gas emissions down 8%, amazing. Yeah, we'll see where that goes. It goes to show you that you can actually clean up the planet. But once the economy ramps up again, that'll probably change. But pollution is down in cities around the world, in Asia, in North America. The skies are cleaner, and pollution is down. It's documented. It's down in all major cities around the world. Delhi, Beijing, North America. So that's good. Now let's close on the economy. Got some wind picking up here. The economy has been devastated around the world, but the stock market still seems to do okay, and big tech is doing okay. Google, Amazon is doing okay. Obviously, oil is doing badly, but the stock market is generally doing okay. It's had its ups and downs, but it's doing okay. And you say, how can that be when everyone's been laid off and the economy's come to a standstill? But that's because the stock market, which is in many ways a casino, has nothing to do with the real economy. Okay, that has nothing to do with the real economy. If you want to know what's going on with the real economy, you got to check employment numbers, jobless numbers. Okay, then you find out what's going on with the real economy. Look at the jobless numbers, look at the employment numbers, look at unemployment. Then you know what's going on with the real economy. Okay, the stock market doesn't tell you what's going on with the real economy. It has no relation to the real economy in many ways. Okay, and I say again, if you want to know what's going on in the real economy, look at the employment numbers. So I'm just trying to think, because we've done this video a couple of times, I kept forgetting to make a few points. But
did you want to say anything about Tara Reid, or?
Well, I said about Biden, right?
Well, you didn't specifically mention the allegations against him.
Right. Well, he's you know, I think Biden's a joke and that these allegations aren't going to help, but they're only allegations. And I am skeptical about allegations that come in many years later. I always find that a bit odd. Okay, I'm very skeptical of that, and yeah, it diminishes the seriousness of the allegations when they come in 20 years. You know, some what is it,
27 years.
27 years later or whatever. So I'm skeptical. It doesn't help him. I always thought he was a weak candidate, as I just mentioned earlier in the video. I think he's a walking mummy. I don't understand the allure of Joe Biden. He can't put a sentence together. I think he's a joke, and I think Trump could be reelected. I really believe Trump could be reelected. So, oh, the wind has picked up, so I don't know if you can hear any of this. But so, anyways, yeah, I think we've covered all the points. Yeah, I think that's it for Late Night from Willowdale. It's still okay, and wind has picked up. But I just say, be nice to the store clerks. Don't be mean to people. Don't get hysterical about this virus. And if someone gets a little too close to you, you don't have to go hysterical about it. Okay? Let's not descend into COVID fascism. Okay? We've got another month of the lockdown. The restrictions in Canada haven't been bad, and I think Trudeau has managed this relatively well. I think the media has been, in many ways, horrible, because a lot of the media was calling for martial law, which was not necessary. So let's hope this virus leaves. Sayonara, virus. We're tired of you, and we need to get ready for the next one, because they're going to keep coming. So that's it. I think that's good. Late Night from Willowdale from the Winston Churchill Park, which is now thinned out. It was really busy earlier, but it's gotten a little chillier. So I can't think of anything else. Hey, Kareem, I think he's covered all the points, eh?
I think we did, yeah.
Yeah, we covered Biden, we covered Trump, we covered the European Union, we covered hysteria, we covered both the crisis of long-term care facilities. So we covered the economy, and we covered the environment, and goodbye COVID, please leave. And we're going to look towards the new normal, and it will be a new normal, and we don't know what to expect. We've never been through this before. On that note, Late Night from Willowdale, and be nice, keep healthy, and be nice to people, and keep healthy. All right?
Okay.